The war room fell silent as Commander Yuki entered. Her small frame moved with careful steps across the polished metal floor. 24 alien students sat around the massive table, their different forms creating strange shadows under the bright lights. Some had scales, others had fur, and a few glowed with soft colors. All of them were the best warriors from their home worlds. Yuki looked human, but the aliens thought she was from a small, peaceful planet called Terra Minor. They believed humans from that world were weak and slow to learn. This made them feel safe around her. They had no idea who she really was. Today we study the Battle of Kepler Station, Yuki said in a quiet voice. Her hands shook slightly as she activated the holographic display. The aliens noticed her nervousness and smiled to themselves. Their teacher was afraid of her own lesson. The room filled with blue light as the battle footage began. Space stretched out before them, filled with burning ships and bright weapon fire. In the center of the chaos, a single human transport ship moved between much larger alien vessels. This battle happened 2 years ago, Yuki explained, reading from her notes like she had memorized them. The human fleet was trapped. They had no way to escape. Watch how their commander makes mistake after mistake. The footage showed the human transport suddenly changing direction. Instead of running away from the alien ships, it flew straight toward them. The alien students leaned forward, excited to see human stupidity in action. "See how the human captain sends his ship into danger," said Vex, a tall creature with purple skin and 4 arms. Any real warrior would have retreated to fight another day. Yuki nodded slowly as if she was learning something new. "Yes, very foolish," she agreed. But inside her mind, she remembered every moment of that battle. She remembered being the captain of that transport ship. The hologram showed the human ship diving between 2 alien cruisers. Weapon fire lit up the darkness, but somehow the transport avoided every shot. It moved like it knew exactly where the enemy would aim. "The human got lucky," said Neela, whose snake-like body coiled around her chair. "No skill, just random chance." "Random chance," Yuki repeated, writing the words on her tablet. The aliens saw her struggling with the simple concept and felt even more superior. They did not notice how her eyes followed every detail of the battle with perfect understanding. The footage continued. The human transport released a small fighter craft, and the pilot began making attacks that seemed completely insane. The fighter charged straight at enemy gun positions, turned at impossible angles, and somehow managed to destroy 3 weapon systems before anyone could react. "Watch the pilot's technique," Yuki said, her voice getting slightly stronger. "The movement pattern makes no sense." But it did make sense. Every twist and turn had been carefully planned. The pilot had studied those alien ships for months, learning exactly where their blind spots were located. The seemingly random attacks hit precisely the right targets to disable their main weapons. The alien students took detailed notes, believing they were learning human weaknesses. Krex, whose metal body gleamed under the lights, pointed at the screen with one of his mechanical arms. "Humans rely too much on emotion," he said. "This pilot acts like a wild animal, not a trained soldier. We can predict this behavior and use it against them." Yuki pretended to struggle with writing down his observation. Her stylus slipped from her fingers twice before she managed to record his words. The aliens exchanged knowing looks. Their teacher was having trouble with basic note-taking. The battle footage reached its climax. The human fighter had cleared a path through the alien defenses, but it looked like a pointless victory. The transport was still trapped, and enemy reinforcements were arriving. The alien students settled back to watch the humans fail. Then something unexpected happened. The transport ship began broadcasting a surrender signal, but at the same time, it started moving toward an asteroid field. The alien fleet moved to capture it, confident in their victory. "Now we see true human nature," said Talon, whose bird-like features were sharp and cruel. "When facing real danger, they give up and run." Yuki's hands trembled as she paused the recording. "Should I continue? This next part is very violent." The aliens laughed. Their teacher was too weak to watch combat footage. They encouraged her to keep playing the lesson, eager to see human cowardice in action. The recording resumed. The human transport reached the asteroid field and seemed to disappear among the floating rocks. The alien ships followed, using their superior sensors to track the hidden vessel. Victory seemed certain. But the asteroids began to explode. The human transport had not been running away. It had been placing charges on the asteroids, turning the entire field into a massive trap. The alien ships found themselves caught in a deadly maze of exploding rock and metal. 3 cruisers were destroyed immediately, and 2 more were badly damaged. The human fighter that everyone thought was acting randomly had actually been mapping the asteroid field during its seemingly crazy attack runs. Every move had been part of a larger plan that the aliens never saw coming. "Impossible," whispered Vex, his forearms trembling. "This cannot be real footage." Yuki looked at her notes, frowning like she was confused. "The records say this really happened. But I don't understand how the humans knew where to place the explosives." She was lying, of course. She knew exactly how it worked because she had planned every detail. The transport ship captain who the aliens saw as a failure was actually Admiral Jin Su, Earth's greatest military strategist. But the aliens did not know this name or recognize her true face. The hologram showed the surviving alien ships retreating in disorder. What they had expected to be an easy victory had become a disaster. The human transport escaped with only minor damage, taking valuable prisoners and captured technology back to Earth. As the footage ended, the alien students sat in stunned silence. They had come to study human weakness, but instead they had watched their own kind suffer a crushing defeat. Yuki closed her tablet and looked around the room with innocent eyes. "I still don't understand how this happened. Could you help me analyze what went wrong?" The aliens eagerly began explaining how they would have done things differently, revealing their own tactical preferences and military capabilities. They had no idea they were giving classified information to their greatest enemy. Yuki listened carefully to every word, still playing the role of a confused student who needed help understanding basic warfare. Inside her mind, she was already planning how to use their secrets against them. The first lesson was complete, but the real education was just beginning. 3 days passed since the first lesson. Yuki sat in the back corner of the war room, pretending to review her notes while the alien students prepared their presentations. Today they would analyze more human battles, and she was curious to see what footage they had found. Student Officer Talon stepped forward first. His sharp beak clicked as he spoke, and his feathers rustled with excitement. He had spent hours preparing his analysis of the Mars Rebellion. "I present the case of human commander So-Ra during the Red Canyon battle," Talon announced. The holographic display activated, showing the rusty surface of Mars and the deep canyon that split the landscape in half. Yuki recognized the scene immediately. She had been there, wearing the identity of Commander So-Ra. The memory was still fresh in her mind, even though the aliens believed it happened 5 years ago. The footage showed human soldiers trapped on one side of the canyon while alien forces held the high ground on the other side. Any military textbook would say the humans should retreat and find another route. Instead, Commander So-Ra ordered her troops to charge straight across the narrow bridge that connected both sides. "Look at this foolish decision," Talon said, pointing at the screen with one wing. "The human commander sends her soldiers into certain death. Any logical warrior would have waited for better conditions." The alien students nodded in agreement. They watched as human soldiers ran across the bridge under heavy fire. Many fell, and it looked like complete disaster. But Yuki remembered the real plan. The charge was not meant to succeed. It was meant to draw attention away from the real attack. While everyone focused on the bridge, human engineers were climbing up the canyon walls using equipment the aliens could not detect. They reached the enemy positions from behind and disabled their weapons. But the footage did not show this part. The aliens only saw what looked like a failed frontal assault. "Humans make decisions with their hearts, not their minds," Talon continued. Commander So-Ra could not bear to leave her trapped soldiers behind. This emotional thinking cost her many lives and nearly lost the battle. Yuki raised her hand slowly as if she was struggling to understand. "But Teacher Talon, did the humans win or lose this battle?" Talon's feathers ruffled with annoyance. "They won, but only because of luck. The alien commander made mistakes too. If we had been there, the outcome would have been different." deity. Other students agreed enthusiastically. They believed human victories came from enemy errors, not human skill. This made them feel confident about future battles. Yuki wrote down their comments, acting like she was learning important lessons. In reality, she was noting how each alien species thought about warfare. Talon's people preferred high ground and defensive positions. This information would be useful later. Next, Krek stepped forward. His metal body reflected the light from the hologram as he began his presentation about the Titan blockade. "I will show you the mistakes of human naval captain Bin-Ho," Krek announced in his mechanical voice. The display changed to show the space around Saturn's largest moon, where a massive space battle had taken place. Again, Yuki recognized herself in the footage. Captain Bin-Ho had been one of her favorite disguises because it let her test new ideas about space combat. The hologram showed human ships that looked old and damaged facing a much larger alien fleet. The alien vessels were sleek and modern, with weapons that could destroy planets. Any reasonable commander would have surrendered immediately. "Watch how Captain Bin-Ho uses outdated tactics," Krek said. "She splits her small fleet into even smaller groups. This violates every rule of space warfare." The footage showed human ships spreading out in seemingly random directions. Some flew toward the alien fleet, others moved away, and a few just seemed to drift without purpose. It looked like complete chaos. The alien students laughed at the human confusion. They did not understand that this chaos was carefully planned. Each human ship was moving to a specific position that would give them advantages the aliens could not see. Bin-Ho also uses old-fashioned kinetic weapons instead of energy beams, Krek continued. Her ships fire simple metal projectiles like ancient cannons. How can such primitive technology work against modern defenses? But it did work. The human ships began hitting targets that seemed impossible to reach. Their metal projectiles moved in curved paths, bouncing off asteroids and debris to strike alien vessels from unexpected angles. The aliens had shields designed to stop energy weapons, but simple chunks of metal passed right through them. The alien fleet had technical problems, Krek explained to his classmates. Their shields malfunctioned at exactly the wrong time. Without these equipment failures, the humans would have been destroyed quickly. Yuki knew the truth. There had been no equipment failures. Human ships had been firing special projectiles that created electromagnetic pulses when they exploded. These pulses disrupted alien shield generators. But the effect was too subtle for most sensors to detect. The aliens saw lucky hits where there was actually precise planning. They believed in coincidence where there was careful preparation. "Teacher." "Yuki," called out Neela, her serpentine body coiled in a comfortable position. "What do you think about these human tactics?" Yuki looked up from her notes, blinking slowly as if the question surprised her. "I think humans are very strange. Why do they make everything so complicated? Would it not be easier to just use bigger weapons?" The aliens nodded approvingly. Their teacher understood that simple solutions were usually the best. They did not realize she was testing their thinking, learning how they approached problems. As the lesson continued, more students presented their analysis of human battles. Each one focused on apparent human mistakes, while missing the deeper strategy. They saw emotional decisions where there was calculated risk. They saw primitive technology where there was clever adaptation. Yuki played her role perfectly, asking simple questions that made the aliens reveal more about their own military capabilities. She learned which species preferred direct attacks, which ones relied on technology, and which ones used psychological warfare. By the end of class, she had gathered intelligence about 12 different alien military systems. The students thought they were teaching their slow teacher about human weaknesses. In reality, they were giving Earth's greatest strategist everything she needed to plan their defeat. As the students filed out of the war room, Yuki remained behind to clean up. She moved slowly, like someone who was tired from trying to understand difficult concepts. But her mind was working faster than any computer, processing the information she had gathered and planning her next moves. The aliens were making this too easy. 2 weeks had passed since the lessons began. The alien students grew more confident each day, believing they had solved the mystery of human warfare. They gathered in small groups during breaks, sharing theories and building plans to defeat Earth's forces. Yuki watched them from her desk, pretending to struggle with basic tactical concepts while listening to every word they said. The aliens no longer bothered to lower their voices around her. In their minds, she was too simple to understand their discussions. "I have discovered the key to beating humans," announced Vex during the morning session. His 4 purple arms moved excitedly as he spoke. "They cannot think logically under pressure. We just need to force them into situations where emotion will not help them." The other students leaned forward with interest. Vex had been studying human battles for longer than anyone else, and his analysis carried weight among the group. "Humans make their best decisions when they have time to plan," Vex continued. "But when we attack them quickly and give them no time to think, they panic and make mistakes. I call this the chaos protocol." Yuki tilted her head slightly as if she was trying to understand a difficult idea. "What is this chaos protocol?" she asked in a confused voice. Vex smiled, pleased to explain his brilliant discovery to their slow teacher. "We attack from multiple directions at the same time. We use overwhelming firepower to make them afraid. We change our tactics every few minutes so they cannot adapt. This will force them to rely on instinct instead of planning." The other aliens nodded enthusiastically. This made perfect sense to them. They had seen humans make emotional decisions in battle footage, so emotion must be their weakness. But Yuki knew the truth. Humans performed their best under pressure, not their worst. The ability to think quickly and adapt to changing situations was one of humanity's greatest strengths. The aliens were planning to use tactics that would actually help their enemies. "Teacher Vex makes a good point," said Neela, her snake-like body shifting position. "But I think we should also attack their minds, not just their bodies. Humans care too much about each other. If we threaten their families and friends, they will make bad choices to protect them." Krex's mechanical voice added to the discussion. "Psychological warfare is effective against emotional species. We should broadcast messages showing captured humans being harmed. This will make their soldiers angry and reckless." Yuki made careful notes, acting like she was learning valuable lessons. In reality, she was documenting exactly how each alien species planned to attack humanity. Every word they spoke was intelligence that would help Earth prepare its defenses. The weeks continued, and the alien students became more organized. They started working together, combining their different military approaches into a unified strategy. Species that had been enemies for centuries now cooperated, united by their shared goal of conquering Earth. During one class, they built a detailed simulation of their planned invasion. The holographic display showed the solar system with colored arrows indicating attack routes and troop movements. "Phase 1 will be a direct assault on Earth's outer colonies," explained Talon, his sharp beak pointing at the display. "We will use the Chaos Protocol to overwhelm their defenses quickly. This will force them to send reinforcements from their homeworld." "Phase 2 involves psychological attacks," added Neela. "We broadcast our victories to show humans that resistance is hopeless. Fear will make them surrender without fighting." "Phase 3 is the final assault on Earth itself," concluded Krex. "By this time, their military will be scattered and demoralized. We will have overwhelming numerical superiority. The simulation showed alien fleets easily destroying human defenses and occupying major cities." The students had calculated everything perfectly, accounting for human technology, population numbers, and military capabilities. But their calculations were based on false assumptions. They believed humans would react with panic and desperation. They expected emotional decisions and tactical mistakes. They planned for an enemy that did not really exist. Yuki studied their invasion plan carefully, memorizing every detail. The aliens had revealed not just their strategy, but also their fleet positions, supply lines, and communication codes. They were giving her everything she needed to turn their own plan against them. "This looks very thorough," she said in an impressed voice. "But what if the humans do something unexpected?" The aliens laughed at her question. After weeks of studying human battles, they were certain they understood their enemy completely. "Humans always do the same things," Vex said confidently. "They charge forward when they should retreat. They try to save everyone instead of accepting necessary losses. They let emotion guide their decisions instead of logic. We have seen this pattern in every battle we studied. There is no such thing as unexpected human behavior, added Talon. They are predictable because they are primitive. Their tactics have not changed in centuries. Yuki nodded slowly, as if she was finally beginning to understand. Inside her mind, she was laughing. The aliens had studied dozens of human battles, but they had completely missed the real patterns. Every emotional decision had been calculated. Every primitive tactic had been carefully adapted to specific situations. Every predictable move had been part of a larger strategy that the aliens could not see. They had watched hours of footage showing human commanders making brilliant tactical decisions, but they interpreted everything through their own cultural biases. They saw what they expected to see, not what was actually happening. As the class session ended, the alien students were more confident than ever. They believed their chaos protocol was unbeatable. They were certain that psychological warfare would break human morale. They trusted their overwhelming technological advantage to guarantee victory. Yuki gathered her notes slowly, acting like someone who was tired from trying to understand complex military concepts. The aliens paid no attention to her as they left the room, discussing final details of their invasion plan. But she had heard enough. The Alien Alliance was planning to attack Earth within 6 months. They would strike during the human harvest season, when colony defenses were at their weakest. They expected the war to last only a few weeks. Yuki remained alone in the war room, staring at the tactical displays that still showed the alien invasion plan. For the first time since arriving at the academy, she allowed herself to smile. The aliens thought they had learned how to defeat humanity by studying their battles. They had created detailed strategies based on careful analysis and logical thinking. They had united 12 different species in a common cause. They had done everything right, except for one small detail. They had been taking lessons from their greatest enemy, and they did not even know it. The trap was almost ready. Soon it would be time to spring it. But first, she needed to make sure the aliens were completely committed to their flawed strategy. The next phase of her mission would require them to believe absolutely in their own superiority. Yuki began planning her final lessons. The aliens wanted to learn about human weakness, so she would give them exactly what they expected to see. After all, the best teachers always gave their students what they needed to learn, even when the lesson was not what anyone expected. The announcement came during morning assembly. Admiral Korvac, the Academy's commanding officer, stood before the gathered students with news that made their eyes light up with excitement. Today marks a special opportunity, the Admiral declared, his scaled hide glistening under the bright lights. We have captured a group of human rebels who are attempting to infiltrate our supply lines. You will have the chance to test your theories against real opponents. Yuki sat in the back row with the other junior instructors, keeping her expression carefully neutral. Inside, her heart was racing. Real humans meant real danger, both for the prisoners and for her own mission. The alien students buzzed with anticipation. After weeks of studying battle footage and building theoretical strategies, they would finally put their knowledge to practical use. This was the moment they had been training for. The exercise will take place in Sector 7, Admiral Korvac continued. You will have access to standard Academy equipment and full tactical support. Your objective is to capture or eliminate the human resistance fighters using the methods you have learned. Vex raised one of his forearms. Admiral, who will command the human forces during this exercise? Admiral Korvac's eyes swept across the room before settling on the instructor section. We need someone who understands human thinking but lacks the skill to pose a real threat. Commander Yuki will take this assignment. The alien students exchanged pleased looks. Their bumbling teacher would be controlling the enemy forces. This would make their victory even easier to achieve. Yuki stood, slowly, as if the responsibility worried her. I am honored by this assignment, Admiral, but I am not sure I am qualified to command real soldiers. That is precisely why you are perfect for the job, Admiral Korvac replied with a cruel smile. The humans need a leader who thinks like they do. Your limited tactical ability will make this exercise more realistic. 2 hours later, Yuki found herself in a military transport heading toward the exercise area. Her hands were bound with energy shackles, part of her cover story as the reluctant commander of captured rebels. The guards treating her like a prisoner helped maintain her disguise. Sector 7 was a vast training ground designed to simulate different combat environments. Rocky hills provided cover for infantry, while open plains allowed for vehicle maneuvers. Hidden bunkers and supply caches were scattered throughout the area. The transport stopped near a temporary command post. Yuki was escorted inside, where she met the human prisoners for the first time. There were 12 of them, all wearing the simple clothes of civilian workers, but Yuki's trained eye caught details the aliens had missed. These men and women moved with military precision despite their casual appearance. Their eyes constantly scanned for threats and opportunities. These were not random rebels caught by accident. "I am Commander Yuki," she said carefully, unsure if any of them would recognize her real identity. "I have been assigned to lead you in this exercise." A young man named Day stepped forward. His face showed no recognition, but something in his eyes suggested he knew more than he was saying. "We understand, Commander. What are your orders?" Yuki glanced around the command post, noting the alien surveillance equipment. She had to assume everything she said was being recorded and analyzed. Her response would need to seem incompetent, while actually conveying real tactical information. "I have studied human battles at the Academy," she said in a nervous voice. "The alien students believe we will act emotionally and make poor decisions. Perhaps we should prove them right by doing exactly what they expect." The prisoners nodded, but she saw understanding in their faces. They recognized the coded message hidden in her apparently simple words. The exercise began at dawn. Yuki positioned her small force in the center of the training ground, seemingly making them easy targets for the surrounding alien forces. The academic observers settled into their monitoring positions, eager to watch their theories prove correct. Vex commanded the primary assault force, using his chaos protocol exactly as planned. His troops attacked from multiple directions simultaneously, creating the overwhelming pressure that should have made humans panic. But instead of panicking, Yuki's forces began moving with incredible coordination. What looked like confused retreat was actually a carefully planned tactical withdrawal. Each group of humans moved to predetermined positions that created interlocking fields of fire. "Something is wrong," Vex reported over the communication system. "The humans are not reacting as expected. They should be scattered and afraid by now." Talon led the secondary assault from the eastern ridge. His forces had the high ground advantage and superior firepower, conditions that should have guaranteed easy victory, but the humans had vanished into the landscape like ghosts. "I cannot locate the enemy force," Talon reported with growing frustration. "They were here moments ago, but now I see nothing." The humans had not disappeared. They had simply used the terrain better than their enemies thought possible. While the aliens focused on obvious tactical positions, the human fighters found concealment in places that military textbooks said could not provide cover. Nyla attempted psychological warfare, broadcasting surrender demands and threats over loudspeakers. This should have frightened the humans into making emotional decisions. Instead, they used the broadcast signals to locate alien communication equipment and target it for elimination. "The humans are jamming our communications," Neela reported, her serpentine voice showing strain. "How are they doing this with primitive equipment?" Yuki smiled as she watched her improvised plan unfold. The humans under her command were not random prisoners. They were members of Earth's elite special forces, captured while on a deep reconnaissance mission. The aliens had made them available for a training exercise without realizing they were facing professional soldiers. But even professional soldiers needed good leadership, and Yuki was providing that in ways the alien observers could not detect. Her apparently confused orders actually contained detailed tactical instructions that her team understood perfectly. Krex brought his mechanical forces forward, confident that superior technology would overcome human cunning. His robotic soldiers moved in perfect formation, their sensors scanning for targets with mechanical precision. The humans responded by becoming completely unpredictable. They used tactics that no computer could calculate, making decisions that seemed random but actually followed patterns that only human intuition could understand. My combat algorithms cannot process their behavior, Krex reported with growing anger. They are acting outside all known tactical parameters. As the exercise continued, the alien students found themselves systematically outmaneuvered by forces they had been certain they understood. Every assumption they had made about human behavior proved wrong. Every strategy they had developed failed when faced with real opposition. The worst part was that their teacher seemed to be getting better as the battle progressed. Commander Yuki's initial nervousness disappeared, replaced by confident command. Decisions that turned apparent disasters into tactical victories. How is she doing this? Vex demanded over the communication system. She could barely understand basic tactics in the classroom. The answer became clear as the exercise reached its climax. The scattered human forces suddenly converged on the alien command center, moving with precision that revealed months of careful planning. This was not a panicked emotional response. This was a masterpiece of military strategy unfolding exactly as intended. Admiral Korvac watched from the observation deck, his scaled features showing growing alarm. The exercise was supposed to demonstrate alien superiority over human forces. Instead, it was becoming a humiliating defeat for his best students. End the exercise, he commanded, but his communication officer shook his head. Sir, the humans have taken control of our transmission equipment. We cannot contact the field forces. On the training ground below, Yuki stood in the captured alien command center, finally dropping her act of nervous incompetence. Her voice was calm and confident as she addressed the alien students over their own communication system. Attention, Academy forces. This is Commander Yuki. Your exercise is complete, but your education has just begun. The alien students stopped, their futile attacks finally realizing they had been deceived. Their bumbling instructor was no instructor at all. The human prisoners were not random civilians captured by chance. They had been set up from the very beginning. You studied footage of human defeats, Yuki continued, her voice carrying clearly across the training ground. But what you actually watched were human victories that you were too blind to recognize. Every battle, every strategy, every decision you analyzed was mine. The revelation hit the alien students like a physical blow. Everything they thought they knew was wrong. Every assumption they had made was false. They had been learning from their greatest enemy without even knowing it. Admiral Korvac activated the emergency protocols, calling for reinforcements to surround the training ground. But Yuki was not finished with her lessons. The real education was about to begin. Red warning lights flashed throughout the academy as Admiral Korvac realized the true scope of the situation. The human standing in his captured command center was not just any enemy agent. Computer databases were already confirming her identity through voice pattern analysis. Alert all stations, Admiral Korvac barked into his communicator. The prisoner calling herself Commander Yuki is actually Admiral Jin Su, also known as the Ghost of Europa. Seal all exits and deploy security forces immediately. The name sent shockwaves through the alien command staff. Jinsu was a legend in their military intelligence files. She had single-handedly destroyed 3 separate invasion fleets using tactics that defied all logical analysis. For months, she had been sitting in their most secure facility, learning their deepest secrets. In the captured command center, Yuki began her extraction with the same calm precision she brought to everything else. The alien students had been studying her methods for weeks, but they still did not understand how her mind worked. Day, secure the communication array, she ordered her special forces team. Hyun, I need you to access their data cores. Min, set. Charges on the equipment we cannot take with us. Her team moved with practiced efficiency while alien security forces surrounded the training ground. But Yuki had expected this response. She had been planning her escape since the moment she arrived at the academy. The first wave of alien reinforcements approached the command center using standard tactical formations. They expected to face desperate humans making a last stand. Instead, they walked into a carefully prepared trap. Yuki had spent weeks learning how each alien species thought about warfare. Vex's people always attacked in straight lines from the strongest position. Talon species preferred high ground and coordinated strikes. Krex's mechanical forces relied on overwhelming firepower and numerical superiority. She used this knowledge against them now. The charges her team had placed throughout the training ground were not positioned randomly. Each explosion was timed to channel the alien forces into kill zones where their own tactics worked against them. "How is she predicting our movements?" demanded Captain Vorth, leader of the security response team. His reptilian features showed confusion as his carefully planned assault fell apart. The answer was simple. Yuki had been watching these aliens train for weeks. She knew their preferred strategies, their standard responses, and their predictable patterns. They had been teaching her how to defeat them without even realizing it. Neela's psychological warfare. Specialists tried to break human morale by broadcasting images of torture and defeat, but Yuki's team had been trained to resist such tactics. Worse, they used the broadcast signals to locate alien communication equipment and destroy it. "They are turning our own methods against us," Neela reported, her serpentine body coiled with tension. "How do they know our frequencies and protocols?" Because Yuki had been sitting in their classrooms taking notes while they explained everything. Every lesson they taught about alien superiority had revealed another weakness she could exploit. Krex deployed his newest robotic soldiers, machines designed specifically to counter human unpredictability. Their artificial intelligence had been programmed with algorithms that could supposedly predict and counter any human strategy. But the robots had been programmed based on the same flawed understanding of human behavior that the alien students possessed. They expected panic and emotion, not calm tactical brilliance. Yuki's team destroyed them by doing exactly what the machines thought was impossible. "My combat units are reporting impossible human behavior," Krex transmitted with mechanical frustration. "They are acting outside all known parameters again." The battle continued as alien reinforcements poured into the training ground. But each wave of attackers found themselves facing tactics they had never encountered. Yuki was not just escaping, she was conducting a masterclass in human warfare. She used the terrain in ways that violated every rule in alien military textbooks. She positioned her forces in locations that should have been untenable, but somehow provided perfect defensive advantages. She moved her team through areas that alien sensors said were empty, but actually provided concealment. Most importantly, she made decisions that seemed completely random, but were actually part of a complex strategy that no alien could predict. This was the true secret of human warfare that the Academy students had never understood. Humans did not just adapt to changing conditions, they created change through sheer unpredictability. They turned their enemies' strengths into weaknesses and found advantages in situations that should have been hopeless. "Status report," Admiral Korvac demanded as the battle raged across his training facility. "Sir, we have them outnumbered 50-1, Captain Vorth replied. "But somehow they are winning every engagement. Our casualties are mounting while theirs remain minimal. This should have been impossible. The humans had inferior equipment, no air support, and no hope of reinforcement. By every logical calculation, they should have been overwhelmed within minutes. But logic was a human tool, not a human limitation. Jinsu had built her reputation by doing things that aliens considered impossible, and she was doing them again now. As the battle reached its peak, Yuki began the final phase of her mission. Her team had downloaded terabytes of classified information from the Academy's computers. They had recorded detailed scans of alien technology and military capabilities. Most importantly, they had documented the planned invasion of Earth that the students had revealed during their classes. "Extraction Point Alpha is secured," reported Hyun from his position near the Academy's main communication array. "Transport window opens in 60 seconds. But Yuki was not finished yet. She activated the Academy's own communication system, broadcasting on frequencies that would reach every alien military installation in the sector. "Attention, alien forces," her voice carried clearly across multiple star systems. "This is Admiral Jin Su of Earth Command. For the past 3 months, I have been a student at your military academy. I want to thank you for the excellent education. Q." Broadcast continued, revealing classified invasion plans to intelligence services throughout the galaxy. The carefully coordinated surprise attack that 12 alien species had been planning for months was now completely compromised. Your students taught me everything I needed to know about your military capabilities, Yuki continued. They showed me your fleet positions, your supply lines, your communication codes, and your strategic weaknesses. Most helpfully, they demonstrated exactly how overconfident you have become. Alien commanders across the sector listened in horror as their most guarded secrets were revealed to the entire galaxy. Decades of careful preparation were destroyed in minutes by a single human who had been sitting in their classrooms. The planned invasion of Earth is cancelled, Yuki announced with calm authority. Not because you choose to cancel it, but because you no longer have the element of surprise. Earth Command has been preparing for your attack since the day I arrived at this academy. As her broadcast ended, human ships began emerging from hyperspace around the academy. The rescue fleet had been waiting at the edge of the system, ready to extract their deep cover agent when her mission was complete. Admiral Korvac watched his carefully constructed plans crumble as human vessels surrounded his facility. The academy that was supposed to teach alien superiority had become a monument to human tactical genius. How did they know? He demanded, though he already understood the answer. They knew because Jin Su had told them. Every lesson the alien students taught, every secret they revealed, every weakness they demonstrated, had been transmitted back to Earth Command through channels the aliens never suspected. The ghost of Europa had struck again, but this time she had not destroyed enemy fleets with weapons and explosives. She had destroyed them with patience, intelligence, and the simple willingness to let her enemies teach her how to defeat them. As extraction ships moved in to collect her team, Yuki took one last look around the academy that had been her home for 3 months. The alien students and instructors would never forget the lessons they had learned here. Sometimes the best way to defeat an enemy was to let them teach you everything they knew. And sometimes the most devastating weapon was a good education. The extraction fleet moved with perfect precision as human ships surrounded the academy. Yuki watched from the bridge of the rescue vessel as her former students scrambled to respond to a situation their training had never prepared them for. Admiral Korvac tried to coordinate a defense, but his communications were jammed, and his sensor arrays were being systematically destroyed by human forces, using tactics that seemed impossible to predict. Every move he made was countered before he could complete it. How are they doing this? He demanded from his command center. Our sensors show only 12 human ships, but they are attacking from 30 different positions. The answer was another lesson in human warfare that the aliens had failed to understand. The human ships were not trying to hide their true numbers. They were using the terrain of space itself, positioning themselves near asteroids and debris fields to create the illusion of larger forces while maintaining tactical flexibility. But more importantly, they were commanded by officers who had learned their trade from Jin Su herself. Every captain in the rescue fleet understood her methods and could predict what she would want them to do. This gave them coordination that no alien computer network could match. Target their primary reactor, Yuki ordered from her position on the rescue ship bridge. But use minimum force. I want the academy intact for what comes next. The human fleet began its final approach, moving with the same controlled chaos that had confused alien observers for decades. Ships that should have been easy targets somehow avoided every shot, while their own weapons found gaps in defenses that no enemy should have been able to locate. Inside the academy, the alien students who had spent weeks learning about human weakness finally understood what they had really been studying. Every battle they analyzed, every strategy they discussed, every weakness they identified, had been demonstrated by the greatest human military commander of their generation. She was teaching us, whispered Vex, his forearms trembling as he watched human ships dance between his people's defensive fire. Every question she asked, every confused look she gave us, she was learning how to defeat us. Talon's sharp beak clicked with nervous energy as he realized how completely they had been deceived. The footage we studied showed her own victories. She let us watch her destroy our fleets while thinking we were learning from our enemies' defeats. Neela coiled herself tighter, her serpentine form betraying the fear she could no longer hide. She knows everything about our military capabilities. She has seen our fleet positions, our supply routes, our communication codes. We gave her everything she needed to destroy us. The human fleet completed its encirclement of the Academy without firing a single unnecessary shot. This was not an attack meant to cause maximum damage. It was a demonstration of tactical superiority designed to teach a final lesson. Admiral Korvac activated the Academy's emergency surrender protocols, hoping to prevent further damage to his facility. But the human fleet commander's response surprised him. Admiral Korvac, this is Captain Sojin of Earth Command. We are not here to destroy your academy. We are here to deliver a graduation address. The communication channels fell silent as both sides tried to understand what was happening. A graduation address was not typically delivered by armed fleets surrounding military installations. I am transferring tactical command to Admiral Jin Su. Captain Sojin continued. She has requested permission to address your students one final time. Yuki's voice filled the communication channels, reaching every corner of the academy complex. Her tone was calm and professional, like a teacher delivering an important lesson to attentive students. Attention, academy personnel. This is Admiral Jin Su, also known as your former instructor, Commander Yuki. I want to thank you all for the excellent education you provided during my time here. The alien students listened with growing horror as their greatest enemy addressed them directly. She was not gloating about her victory or threatening them with destruction. She was genuinely thanking them for their help. For 3 months, you taught me everything I needed to know about your military capabilities, your strategic thinking, and your cultural weaknesses. Every lesson you prepared, every analysis you shared, every confident prediction you made gave me insights that no amount of espionage could have provided. Admiral Korvac felt his scaled hide grow cold as he realized the full scope of the intelligence breach. This was not just a failed training exercise. It was the complete compromise of 12 different alien military systems by a single human operative. Your planned invasion of Earth has been canceled, Yuki continued in her calm teacher's voice. Not because you chose to abandon it, but because every detail of your strategy has been transmitted to Earth Command. Our defensive preparations began the day I started taking your classes. The human fleet maintained its perfect formation around the academy, while their admiral delivered her final lecture. This was not an attack force preparing for battle. It was a classroom demonstration on a massive scale. I want to address some of the tactical theories you developed during our time together, Yuki said, and several alien students recognized the same tone she had used during their regular lessons. Your chaos protocol was based on the assumption that humans cannot think clearly under pressure. This assumption is incorrect. To demonstrate her point, the human ships began performing maneuvers that should have been impossible under combat conditions. They moved through the Academy's defensive fire like it was empty space, making split-second decisions that turned potential disasters into tactical advantages. Humans perform their best when facing overwhelming odds, Yuki explained, as her fleet danced between alien weapons. Pressure does not make us panic. It makes us creative. The more impossible the situation becomes, the more likely we are to find solutions that you cannot predict. Vex watched his people's most advanced weapons miss their targets repeatedly, while human ships somehow anticipated every shot. The chaos protocol he had developed was being used against him, but in ways his theories had never considered. Your psychological warfare strategies were also flawed, Yuki continued. You assumed that threatening human civilians would make our soldiers emotional and reckless. In reality, it makes us focused and determined. Nothing motivates human warriors more than the knowledge that their families are in danger. Neela's communications specialist tried to jam the human broadcast, but their signals were being blocked by the same techniques they had taught Yuki during her time at the academy. She was using their own methods against them with perfect efficiency. Most importantly, you never understood the true nature of human adaptability, Yuki said, as the demonstration continued around them. You saw our willingness to change tactics as a sign of confusion or weakness. You did not recognize it as our greatest strength. The human fleet suddenly shifted formation, moving from defensive positions to attack vectors in seconds. But instead of destroying the academy, they began broadcasting on every communication frequency in the sector. I am now transmitting the complete records of your planned invasion to every military intelligence service in the galaxy, Yuki announced. Your allies will discover that you plan to betray them after conquering Earth. Your enemies will learn about your fleet positions and supply vulnerabilities. Your neutral neighbors will see evidence of your expansion plans into their territory. Admiral Korvac realized with growing horror that his military alliance was about to collapse completely. The secrets that held 12 different species together in common cause were being revealed to their greatest rivals. "This is the final lesson I wanted to teach you," Yuki said as alien communication networks across the sector began receiving classified military intelligence. "Humans do not fight just to win battles. We fight to ensure that our enemies can never threaten us again." The broadcast continued for exactly 60 minutes, long enough to transmit every piece of intelligence Yuki had gathered during her time at the Academy. When it ended, the carefully planned invasion of Earth had become the complete exposure of alien military capabilities to the entire galaxy. "Class dismissed," Yuki announced in the same gentle tone she had used during her first lesson weeks ago. "Thank you all for your attention, and I hope you learned something valuable today." The human fleet began withdrawing as smoothly as it had arrived, leaving the Academy intact but completely compromised. They had not come to destroy alien facilities or capture alien prisoners. They had come to deliver a message that would be remembered for generations. Admiral Korvac stood in his command center, surrounded by communication equipment that was broadcasting the collapse of his alliance to every corner of known space. The Academy that was supposed to teach alien superiority had become the instrument of their greatest defeat. "How did this happen?" he asked, though he already knew the answer. It happened because they had allowed their greatest enemy to sit in their classrooms for 3 months, teaching them about human weakness while learning everything she needed to know about theirs. 6 months later, military academies across the galaxy began teaching a new required course called Understanding Human Unpredictability. The textbook was written by various alien military theorists, but every chapter began with the same quote from Admiral Jin Su.